is all about accelerating AI advantage, unlocking that enterprise value from India's GCC. I'd like to invite on stage the Chief Practice Officer of Asia Pacific and Middle East region from Fractal Analytics Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, could we have a huge round of applause as I invite on stage Mr. Sandeep Dutta.
So, one of the largest events in human history, 66 crore people over 45 days, 5 crore people in a single day. I think you all know what I'm referring to. It set 3 world records, right? The Mahakumbh Mela. But it was also, along with being the largest gathering of human beings in the world, it was also a perfect storm for infectious disease. So many people coming together. And India, one of the diseases that India is already a hub for is tuberculosis. So how do you prevent infections at this kind of scale? How do you screen people? How do you make sure that you don't lead to an outbreak, which was the unhappy outcome of such a great event? Could you do it with AI? Can AI come to the rescue? This is exactly what happened. What was used at the Mahakumbh was Cure.ai, which incidentally is incubated by Fractal. And Cure.ai is a set of algorithms that read radiology images, anything from CT scans, MRI, X-rays. And they also have the ability to actually diagnose TB from an X-ray. Typically, if you have to look for a TB diagnosis, you have to go for a pathology test, which takes 2 days. Impossible in this kind of a gathering, impossible as a screening tool to prevent infections when the volume is so high. And the only way to do it is through AI, and that's what Cure did at a large scale. So Cure, as I mentioned, it's one of the most highly adopted healthcare, AI healthcare solutions in the globe, and touching millions of lives and actually saving millions of lives. But the reason I bring that out is that AI is already having an impact. Of course, we see the impact in our daily lives. We see the impact, when we pick up the newspaper and see the billions of dollars that are going into AI. But it is having impact at scale, even in events like Mahakumbh that Cure did. And our assessment is that AI is going to surpass all the other revolutions that we've seen in the past, right? And as that proceeds, why do we feel that it's going to be that getting more and more adopted and getting more and more impactful? It is because the marginal cost of using AI, the marginal cost of using intelligence, basically, which AI is generating, is going towards zero. And what happens when the marginal cost of any product or any service goes towards zero? Let me take you back a little bit into your history, and I think you'll start realizing what it means in terms of proliferation and use. If you think of mobile data, or if you think of even cell phone usage, there was a time in India it used to cost 16 rupees a minute, right? And I remember my first cell phone, all I did was call home and say, I'm going to reach chai bana lo, right? Because that is already 16 rupees gone. But today, do you think at all about using mobile data? Do you think at all about using a mobile data to watch a video while you're on the go? Do you think at all about using roaming services? It is because the cost of that service is nearly down to zero. And what we expect is that the cost of using AI intelligence will be going down to zero, and it will be used in everything that we do. But while this is where we are seeing the excitement going, what is happening in enterprises? Right? What is happening in adoption in enterprises? There is a recent MIT report that generated a lot of excitement, because it said that 95% of experiments and pilots and projects with AI, with Gen AI, are failing. So how come on one side we are seeing so much interesting transformation caused by AI in the world out there? We are seeing billions, hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into AI, but the enterprise adoption and enterprise results are still seeming to lag. What is going wrong? And that's what I want to focus on in the rest of this talk, about what do we need to do to convert all of this into enterprise excitement. And I think all the GCCs can leverage that into leading with AI for their enterprises. So first, I think today in the world of AI, we have to start thinking agentic. If we look at how AI has been shaping in the past few years, we can think of the phase around 2023 when ChatGPT got launched and GenAI became the central part of every discussion. We can think of those as years of somebody in a high school. Those are the years of pre-training. Like a high school student or a school student, the task is to learn everything that is out there. All knowledge that is out there in the world needs to be consumed and absorbed, and that is what AI models did. They learned from everything that was on the internet, everything that was published, everything that was available, and they gathered knowledge. I think every solution built on top was using knowledge to generate something. And the next step that followed was that now the model started looking at reasoning. Right now, not just take the knowledge, but start thinking, start assembling, start making sense out of it. That is like a high school student now going to college, or starting a graduate or a master's program or even a PhD. And that's what reasoning models are doing. They are matching up to the level of PhD. They're able to reason, they're able to think through and come to conclusions. They're getting better in maths, etc. But really, what is going to be impactful for enterprises is the agentic models, right? And all of us have today probably heard enough of agentic models and maybe more than we want to hear. But truly, that is where now all the AI is becoming more action oriented. It can actually get things done. And it is becoming the equivalent of a working professional. So you've done your high school, you've done your college. Now you're going to go work in an enterprise and you got to get things done. You get things done individually or you get things done in a team, which is the equivalent of a multi-agentic model. So one submission that I have is that we all need to think agentic because that's going to give the maximum value in an enterprise. What exactly is this agent, right? Just sometimes there is confusion around it. We could have an assistant, right? I mean, assistant can do a task for me. I can ask it to wake me up at 7 a.m. But then if it was an agent, I could tell them that I need to reach office by 9 a.m. I need to go to the gym. I need to make sure that you take care of traffic conditions and weather. Tell me what time should I wake up. So then the task of the agent is to look at all this information collected maybe from weather or from the internet and wake me up at the right time. So if I look at, we at Fractal, we have actually brought out a multi-agentic platform that can be leveraged by organizations to create agents. It's called Cogentic. And my colleagues and I are all available and we can talk to anyone who's interested to know more about it. But the idea is that in an enterprise, you want to actually look at the different tasks that need to get done by teams, by people, and we can actually have agents working along with the people to get that done. This is just one example, which is a sales assist, which is essentially looking at helping relationship managers sell in the wealth kind of environment. And they, the agents. There are agents working at the back of each of these things that you see on the screen. So there is an agent which is, hey, for this particular relationship manager, how much is the AUM being in his portfolio, which is available? What connections should they do? So it is a complete assistant for them with multiple agents powering it. They can drill down further. They can learn about the products that they're trying to sell. They can prioritize who they should call on. They can prepare by getting coached on what they should be going and talking. Everything is available in one place. So this is the platform that I was talking about, Cogentic. Essentially, this is a ready platform that can be leveraged, which which obviously has to dip into a lot of data to make things happen. There are tools. You can think of a tool as something that gets an activity done, like a forecasting or a driver analysis, which are already ready. And there are some ready-made agents. It can also take in agents or models that you're already using in your enterprise. And then all of these can be brought together into a particular business process that you're trying to solve for. It could be a finance business process. It could be a contact center business process. It can all come together. The second submission that I have for you is that we need to start thinking of embedding AI into every decision that is taken in an enterprise. And if you look at the decisions that are taken in an enterprise, in a simple framework, we could look at them as recurring decisions or one-off decisions, easy to frame decisions or difficult to frame decisions, small impact decisions to simple, significant impact decisions. So if these are like a continuum, and uh, one framework that we would suggest is that if you look at the really one-off, difficult to frame, very significant decisions, those are probably still going to be taken by humans, but AI can be an assistant. AI can, and data and insights can inform that decision better. If you look at the decisions which are going to be recurring, easy to frame, small impact, right? We take it multiple times of time. These are the ones which are likely to get most automated by AI agents. But you need human oversight, you need governance, you need some kind of framework to make sure that these are not going out of way. And then the middle range, which are more tactical decisions, right? This is where humans and agents come together. Think of deciding about giving a loan to somebody, underwriting a loan, right? That kind of decision is where human and AI will still need to come together. If I take an example of agentic AI in action in terms of collections, right? In any establishment, in the part of your accounts receivable process, you're looking at collection. You can actually imagine this entire process to be broken into which parts would you let be done totally by an agent, right? Like the ones we talked about, the more operational, the more voluminous decisions. Which part will need a human and an agent together, right? There is some judgment to be taken. A human oversight is needed. So the entire process can be broken down. This is just one illustration, right? And just I think the trick is now to look at every business process that we have in our enterprise and reimagine it to say that now which parts can I let an agent work on autonomously? Which part do I need to have a human along with the agent? Which some part you may be using RP and it is already automated action. That's fine. Let's continue. And I think every business process needs to be reimagined in this way because that's where the future is. The third submission that I have is that when we are looking at any of these decisions, any of these transformations we're doing in an enterprise, we cannot think of them as technology upwards or even data upwards. We have to look at them as decision backwards. What am I trying to achieve? Right? And who are the users who are going to use it? So if I'm going to look at, say, a sales situation, my whole objective is to sell more of my product. I need to understand what is it that I'm going to achieve. That objective backwards is how I should look at my solution. And I cannot do it without understanding a day in the life of the user. If I am creating a solution for the salesperson, I need to understand what a salesperson do. I need to understand a day in their life. And for that, we feel that data science is only one part. But you also need to integrate human behavior, understanding of human behavior. Humans are not the most rational of people, despite the fact that we think so. Our decisions are influenced by multiple factors, emotions, etc. So when we are trying to get any impact in the enterprise, we need to understand who will be using it, how will they use it, how will they perceive it. In most of the places, we find that great solutions are created, but the adoption is very low and no impact is seen. So I'll take an example to just bring it out a little bit. We were working with one particular country in the Middle East, where the Department of Health's objective was to get some action into the obesity, the growing obesity in the region. Now, all the analysis of the data can tell you who are the people who are most likely to continue to, increase their BMI, etc., and fall into chronic diseases. But how do you get them to change their behavior? Because unless you can get them to change their behavior, nothing else is going to change it. And the usual way that they were trying to do it is, and this is a Middle East country, they had a lot of data and they had a lot of ability to make things happen. So they knew that kind of steps people are taking. You can set goals for them, saying you have to take 10,000 steps, 20,000 steps, etc. You can give some leaderboard comparison. You can communicate on issues so you can give a lot of information, right? That health issues, etc., that you're going to get. But people don't change their behavior because of that. So the solution to get the action that we came back with was to change it into nudges, right? Into some things that human beings can start acting on. And these were smaller goals, personalized goals, no comparison with everyone. Compete with yourself. Every day try to do a little bit more and tie it to emotion. So in this particular case, as you do more and more, this flower will start, becoming green and, red, and the plant will start looking healthy. And this has a particular association in the Middle East also in terms of a rose. So that's the kind of solution that was brought out to not just understand who needs help, but also figure out how to help them. The next one I'll say is build guardrails, right? Everyone, we've heard a lot about responsible AI. What does responsible AI mean? And what happens if you don't look at responsible AI? So I'll just illustrate it with two examples. The first one is about this student who was at MIT, and she was actually working on a project where she needed to look at different facial recognition software. And as she was going through that, she found that the software did not recognize her face. And she tried another commercial software, and still the face was not recognized. And by chance, she had a white mask lying from a theater project that she had done earlier. And when she put that on, she got recognized. She was shocked. And that led her to do much more deep study into this, and a group of people came together. There's actually a Netflix documentary on this that I would encourage everyone to watch. But in brief, the results were that if you are a white male, there are 99% chances you'll be recognized. If you are, as the race starts changing and as the sex starts changing, the percentages start dropping off, so much so that if you're a black female, the 32% chances that you won't be recognized as a human by this software. So that's what not having the right data or not marshalling the right data in the right way can lead to. Second example is about something that Anthropic did recently with their own models, Claude, as well as other chatbots. They gave them a very constrained environment in which they actually tested the goals of the chatbot. So they set up a conflict in the goals by saying that, they set up this, and everything was artificial. So this is an experiment. But the way they set it up was that the chatbot is going to get decommissioned by a particular engineer, right? And they let all the information about the engineer be available to the chatbot to pick up in the environment. So they could read emails, they could read, about the profile, etc. To see that what would the chatbot do. And in 80% plus cases, any chatbot that they used got down to blackmail to save itself from being decommissioned. So things like it would find out that in the emails I can find out this engineer is having an extramarital affair, and the chatbot threatened to expose that to that engineer's wife and say you cannot decommission. So that's the other danger of where AI can go if its goals conflict with goals that may be more important for others. So all of this leads to the fact that we need to have important guardrails built in. There are enough frameworks for responsible AI, right? There is at Fractal we have a framework, Microsoft has a framework, Google has a framework. I think the frameworks are all available. My submission is that we have to follow them. And one way you can see how important RAI is, in organization, is to see that is there a person responsible for RAI, and if it is so, how many levels below the C level is that person, right? And do they have independent charge? That itself will tell you how important RAI is in an organization. If I move on, I'll just skip this. I think the last one that I will say is that you have to prepare your organization for AI. It is not going to happen on its own, and you have to prepare your people for AI. Sorry. So, and this is across various ways, right? Clearly, the technical people need to be upped in the game for AI. The technology is changing so fast, right? They all need to learn new skills. The leadership needs to understand what AI can really do. What we find out there is also a lack of understanding of what is the real capability of AI, and maybe it is as much as needing to understand what it can do and what it can't do, because there is a lot of myth also floating around about what can be achieved. And I think that understanding is very important to set realistic goals and set the realistic objectives for the organization. But even the non-technical people, every user in the enterprise needs to understand how to use AI tools. And if they're not comfortable using AI tools, you will not get results. Let me again illustrate that with a story. Right? This story is about a physician who wanted to test out what happens when physicians use AI tools, right? Who is more effective, AI tools or physicians? So they set up an experiment in which they had 3 cohorts. So one cohort was just ChatGPT, one was ChatGPT plus a physician, and one was only physicians. They took out some cases, right, medical cases that had never been exposed on the internet. That means ChatGPT has not seen them and has not learned, right? No LLM has learned about them. And they divided into 3 groups and gave to these 3. Now, the expectation was that human plus AI coming together should do the best, right? The cohort that has humans and the physicians and ChatGPT will do the best. Any thought about who did the best? ChatGPT, right? Absolutely. So to the surprise, they found that the best results came from ChatGPT, right? And the question is, why, right? ChatGPT gets 90%, right? But with a physician who's an expert, how come the score falls? It should go up, right? Whatever ChatGPT missed, I should be doing better. You know why? Because I don't believe in those results. So as a physician, even though ChatGPT gave me an answer, I will say, oh, I can't trust AI, right? It is wrong. And that is why in your enterprise, unless you train people, unless first of all you develop AI in the right way, don't make it a black box. Your user needs to if I'm telling a salesperson, this is my recommendation on how you go and talk to your customer, and they have been doing it for 30 years, they're not going to buy it unless first of all you convince them that this is the right way. You expose them to what AI can do, and you prepare them for the transformation that you're bringing, right? It won't happen on its own. So in the end, I'll just like to, and I mean, that was just that at Fractal also, we are providing many of these training services. We are actually doing this actively for one of the large GCCs in India, and we do it for multiple of our global clients. We have trained thousands of people in enterprises across those three kinds of trainings that I talked about. But to sum up, what do you need to do to make sure that this whole AI wave is actually translating to something beneficial for your enterprise also? First, reimagine every business process with AI. Like it or not, that's where the world is going. So the sooner you do it, the better. Design it with adoption in mind, right? No amount of great technology solution will create an impact unless the users start using it. So you need to understand what is a day in their life. You need to make sure it is integrated back into the systems that they already use. Don't expect people to change the way they work. You have to fit into the way they work and sort of make it useful. And you have to design robust, responsible AI solutions. There is a great benefit to be had, but there is also a great downside if you're not careful. And last, reskill and reshape for the future. Get ready to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Dutta.